Welcome, everybody. We are live here on the HVAC School live stream. Waiting on a couple other people to come in, possibly, including Brian himself. So tonight we've got AJ. And AJ, can you pronounce your last name for us?
Callegan.
Callegan. We got AJ Callegan and Michael Housh, who needs no introduction. And tonight we're doing residential install Ask Me Anything. So put your questions in the comment section and we will get to them. So let's jump right in. We got our first question is from Matt Florence. He says he's in North Carolina, owner operator. What do you do in the summer? He's saying Florida, but just in general, what do you guys do to stay cool when you're in the attic?
Can I start?
Yeah, go for it.
I would always tell my customers we're going to be there before daylight and we're out for 12 or 1 o'clock. So by the time the attic gets 120 degrees, we're wrapping up and getting out of there. And then we'll run calls the rest of the evening. So you're not in 150 degree attic peak heat load. You know what I mean? I always tell my clients our safety comes second to your comfort. If I need to put you in a hotel for the night, I'll put you in a hotel, but I'm not going to work in 150, 160 degree attic and risk our lives.
Yeah. Michael, do you guys, I know you guys have a lot of basements, but
yeah, we don't too many attics. When we do, we also, try to schedule that work in spring or fall sometime that isn't too terrible if possible. But for us, it's just take breaks. I don't necessarily do I completely understand AJ in their climate or whatever, but since they're few and far between for us, we just grin and bear it kind of thing.
Yeah. For me, I guess I kind of, like a halfway to what AJ does, like just try to get the equipment hanging, in the attic. Most of our stuff is hung here. So get the old stuff out, get the new stuff in, within the first few hours. So then everything else you're doing up there is a lot less, manual labor intensive.
So another thing, let me throw this in there. Another thing that I try to do if possible, and typically I'm completely reconfiguring the entire system. So typically I can do this. I'll disassemble the existing system, pull the return, pull the supply off of it, and just leave it running. And that'll be the last thing I do is decommission that and get it out of the attic, and my whole new system's up and running. So we're basically conditioning the attic.
Yeah.
The best we could anyway. It works really good when we're doing encapsulations.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cool idea. I like that. Performance HVACR wants to know where you're from, AJ.
I am from a small bayou town south of New Orleans called Lafitte, Louisiana.
All right. Next question is from Kevin Pierce. He says he installed an AC today. The pressures were way higher than they should be. Why is this?
Man, to find way higher, and that's a not enough information. But some things that can cause high head pressure would be, if the fan isn't moving the right amount of air outside. If you have high suction pressure, maybe it's because you just installed it and it's really hot in the house, and you're going to have a higher suction pressure.
Yeah. Hot pull down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be my guess as well. Yeah, AJ, before we went live, you were talking about kind of your philosophy. You say you end up just kind of tearing a lot of stuff out and restarting everything on installs. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The incompetency in the industry, the lowest bidder gets the job, and when the lowest bidder is getting the job, he's cutting every possible corner he can cut. So typically everything is done wrong. the ductwork isn't sized right, it's not sealed, it's not strapped, it's not installed properly, the system's oversized, so forth and so on. So when I walk up to a system, doing everything to the T by the book, basically, I have to wipe it all out and start over because I have nothing there to work with.
So how do you do that? How does that install flow go for you? Is that, how many days does it take you to do something like that?
Oh, goodness. It depends on the job. My typical, like what I consider a quick change out, I'll be there for 5 days.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark and I always talk about we can make so much more money doing hack work like the rest of these guys doing 2 change outs a day and become rich. You know what I mean? But we're not solving the problem. We're not changing the industry for the better by just following suit as everybody else.
Yeah. I've been working on a job the last couple of weeks. And it's all crawl space duct work, and I've been doing like two days a week, been working on that. And I was thinking to myself the other day, man, I understand why people like doing change outs, because they are faster and they're big tickets, right? Yeah, I just kind of put those pieces together as a first time business owner, kind of saying, okay, yeah, there is a good reason for that.
Yeah. I'm getting called into sick houses now where the family's suffering issues with the house. And those sort of projects, I just finished one up. It took me about 2.5, 3 months. But that's doing everything plus the AC, plus the mechanicals and ventilation and all. You know, I'm doing envelope, air sealing, insulation, sometimes remediation. I'm a general contractor as well, so I try to take the entire scope.
Wow.
And all just by yourself?
I'll bring in people as needed, but yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but typically I'm the one grinding on the job day in and day out, 7 days a week, trying to get it done. You know,
so do you bring in like
are
you bringing in a ton of window units to get these people kind of through the?
No, I mean, typically with something like that, they're out the house because it's a huge scope of work. You're not going to have AC in the house for months. It's going to be a construction zone. I don't want my family in the house at that point. You know what I mean? Get out the house, go on vacation, whatever. I don't want you in that toxic environment while we're in there doing what we got to do.
Gotcha.
Well, and if you're doing remediation and a lot of other, like the house has probably made these people sick and they want to be out of it till it's fixed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump back into some of these questions here. This is from Socrates Dionysus. Does MAP gas leave residue/dust inside copper pipes that we braze?
Flow nitrogen.
Yeah, anything does. I don't think it matters if you're using MAP or oxyacetylene, right? I mean, it's...
Well, I mean, I think there is a temperature or whatever. So, like, technically, if you use something like Stay Bright or whatever, I think you don't necessarily have to, but, you know, don't quote me on it. But I think that the oxide does require a certain temperature, but...
Best practices, braze 15% with oxyacetylene, flow nitrogen, purge the hell out of it and call it a day.
I just use press fittings, so.
Yeah.
I don't.
Is that really what you're doing now? You're just going full press fitting?
Yeah, I mean, 98% of the time, I break out a torch once or twice a year for certain things, but.
I'm old school. I like to braze everything.
Yeah, to each their own. Pressing's just nice. Don't have to lug anything around.
Yeah. Okay, here's let's see. Let's go to this one here. Best strategies for installing and controlling whole home dehumidifiers.
My personal strategy, I do a central return. Set up the dehumidifier. I integrate the supply from the dehumidifier into the supply of the system. Fresh air damper controlled with Haven.
So I I've been trying to think through this lately. Why is it bad to pull from the unit return for the dehumidifier? Like why is it preferable to add a dedicated return?
You're fighting a blower from the system on both ends at that point.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, it's for us, sometimes it's easier to pull from a return. Like, technically, a dedicated return is the best. But, it can be a challenge in my area a lot of times to get a register somewhere that isn't in a floor or whatever, right? So we have to pull from the return a lot of times and then put it into the supplier. I've also done into the blower on an air handler where we just go return to sort of return, but you don't have the back pressure of the supply. And so you can actually move more air through your dehumidifier.
Yeah, best strategy and all the rest of this. There's many strategies, but the best one I feel like is central and integrate the supply to the supply.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that there's the one that was talked about this past year at the symposium, the injection method, which is supply to supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've been trying to think through some of what the potential downsides of that could be. So the plus side is you're not fighting against any sort of duct pressure. And then you're also
downside would be condensation in the dehumidifier, the jacket of the dehumidifier potentially. If it's in an attic, let's say, right? If the dehumidifier's in the house, then it's probably less concerning, I'd say, but
it's not something I would do.
Yeah. Now, in terms of installing, do you guys prefer the backdraft damper, or I know some people are using motorized dampers?
For the supply from the dehumidifier to the supply of the system, we use a butterfly damper, and then we do a power closed, spring open. No, I'm sorry, spring closed, power open on the fresh air intake. If we do a fresh air intake, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
I generally use a motorized damper on the supply. So for me, it's just about as easy, and it's actually difficult for us to get backdraft dampers. I have to order them, and the supply house has motorized dampers in stock, and so a lot of times we use a motorized damper on the outlet of the dehumidifier.
Gotcha. Welcome, Adam. Oh, we can't hear you.
This
happened last week too. All right, well, we'll get Adam in when we can. Okay, let's see. Let's see. There you go. Let's see. What do we got here? On a retrofit install, can you hook up a line set that is one size bigger or smaller than your new unit? What should you watch out for doing this? Example, you got a 7/8 connection on the new unit, and you're going to 1 1/8. Like you have an 1 1/8 line set, and your new unit is 7/8.
If it's not approved and it's in the manual, don't do it.
I mean, I think for the most part, you're probably okay. But, that's just me. I like the technical answer is, do what the manual says. But for me, I just hook it up and see what happens.
It depends.
I mean, to be honest, there was I can't tell you how many times that we've done installs where it's old townhouses or whatever, and they have not suction, but crazy small, 1/4-inch liquid lines and long ones. And what are you gonna do when it's a 40-year-old condenser and all the line sets are in the wall buried? Install it and cross your fingers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I refuse to do them.
Yeah. Obviously, lots of different ways you could go with it.
Yeah.
I know, like when we did the long line set applications live stream a few weeks back, in terms of liquid lines, you're essentially just losing a little bit of capacity. So that's the main thing, right? Is you're going to have a little bit of pressure drop with a smaller liquid line. So that doesn't seem to be like a huge deal. The suction line, I think, is a bigger deal because, and Al Anonymous put this down here. You've got to get enough velocity for your oil return.
Yeah.
So those are the main things to watch out for. So, yeah. Okay.
A lot of times the thing is that, like, really you do have to look at the manual, because a lot of times the manufacturer will put a 7/8 suction valve on, right? Even if they expect or want you to go up to 1 1/8 line set or something, right? And so, that's where for me most of the time it's fits the application anyways.
Well, and on the flip side of that too, there's times where they have 7/8 knuckles like that, and it's perfectly fine to do a 3/4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. This one's from Matt Florence. What's better, full variable speed or single stage with a whole house dehumidifier?
It depends.
Yeah, I mean, do you get the dehumidifier with either piece of equipment, or I mean, like, there's not a great answer here, and it also depends on where you're at, right? Like, the whole house dehumidifier is a magic bullet to a lot of problems in certain areas.
Down here in the South, in my opinion, every house should have a dehumidifier, simply for shoulder seasons. The rest of the time, just figure your sensible heat ratio on the equipment. If it can cover the sensible in latent load, let it roll.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think, but like budget's going to play a big factor for the homeowner. It's a lot more to add a dehumidifier. So, I think there's only going to, at least in my experience, there's only a certain number of people that are going to be interested in having another piece of equipment.
I mean, we don't install that many single stage pieces of equipment anymore. Like, there's plenty of middle of the road inverter options and stuff too nowadays, that it seems like single stage are the people that are super budget conscious, and everybody else gets an inverter. Like, at least that's the way it works for us.
Yeah. Talk us through a little bit about what do you guys do differently for inverter systems in terms of installs?
I mean,
to me,
my
approach is it gets installed the same exact way. I mean, the only difference is you have an inverter versus a single stage compressor.
I mean, is there anything you're adding, like surge protection, or do you like the?
Oh yeah, I mean, it depends on the system. Depends on the location. We might do a buck and boost, but every single inverter gets a surge protector for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we use surge protectors on every one. I mean, technically, if you're doing all the ductwork and everything, there may be considerations of, how's it going to run in lower speeds and stuff like that. But, for us, it's a lot. The difference would be maybe thermostats and control and stuff like that. But
what do you guys use for surge protection? I know you can go and you get something super basic, or they make that that real high end. I I'm trying to remember the model at the time.
I use the ICM 493. That's what we use.
Yeah, I just use the basic one.
Yeah, I like the 493. Then there's a few other brands out there now. There's also a Rector Seal just came out with one. It's a RHS 50. It's got a disconnect and it's got voltage monitoring all built into one instead of having to have two. So I think those are pretty nice.
Does it have the multiple, like the ICM 493 has like 5 MOCs or whatever the heck they are that so basically it can handle a surge 5 different times or whatever before needing replaced?
I don't know. I've only seen them at the supply house. I haven't dug into the specifications on them.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that because it just has that RHS 50, the surge protector built into it. They sell that like by itself. You know what I'm talking about? Like right off of here. I'll show you.
Does it have so? Yeah, so I've seen the ones that have the surge protector built in, but not like voltage monitoring and stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
So that does use the same one that you would.
So that's like a single use thing, right? Because you could just pick this off. This is like way cheaper if you just buy this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is about, do you guys use R11? What are you guys doing for cleaning out line sets, old line sets?
Like I said earlier, I replace them, so I don't really clean them. I'll speak for Mark real quick. Mark likes the pipe peg or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
We send a little
pipe wiper.
Yeah, pipe wiper, and then Hillmore, I think, has one or something as well.
I haven't used them. Like I said, I just replaced the line set.
Yeah, AJ likes to work.
Yeah. We'll purge things out with nitrogen or something, and I have used the flushes in the past, but then I feel like it doesn't matter for the most part unless there's burnout or stuff in there. Like a little bit of oil mixing together isn't really problematic, like was originally thought when we first transitioned everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah. What are some of the things you guys have learned over the years about doing sort of these bigger installs, maybe more significant retrofits, about just being organized on the front end, in terms of
critical
purchasing materials, or can you guys kind of talk me through your organizational process?
Plan ahead, be strategic, maximize every opportunity, work smart, not dumb. I mean, stage your materials and equipment as needed, so you don't have stuff just cluttering the attic and job site.
For me, I like one of the things, I don't do a ton of we're more change outs and stuff and duct modifications and stuff, but for the most part we're couple day, 2 or 3 day jobs, right? Generally. And so for us, what's helpful is we sort of follow similar process all the time. We order, we have a similar package of materials we get for every job, whether it's a furnace or a air handler, right? And so we just have learned what we need and often err on the side of having too much and taking the leftovers back. And so that works well for us.
You're better to have a little too much than not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that extra bucket of Pookie. I could say Pookie. Brian's not here, right?
Oh yeah.
I actually think, speaking of Pookie, for Father's Day, I was thinking I tested my dad's ductwork, which is in unconditioned crawl space, and it's super leaky. So I think for Father's Day, I'm going to take my kids down in the crawl space with a couple buckets of Pookie, give them paintbrushes, and we're going to go at it.
Paint whatever you could see, kids.
Yeah.
Is it insulated?
No, it's actually,
thank
I
God.
don't want to say it's unconditioned. It's vented, right? So, I mean, 6'1", half dozen of another, I guess.
Where are you located, Adam?
Western suburbs of Chicago.
Okay, so none of your ductwork sweating under Dad's house?
I haven't been down there since I've been probably 18 or so I couldn't tell you. Probably.
Gotcha. Anything in a crawl space in my area typically needs to be ripped out, remediated, and do a crawl space encapsulation.
Yeah. He's lucky enough where it's insulated in the exterior walls, and it used to be a dirt crawl, but he had them pour concrete. So, and the only thing that's left is like the vents on the side. And I
Did
just
they
want to go
do a
down there.
vapor barrier under the concrete?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, if you
That was
never
before
know.
I knew or really cared about much of this. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, if you have a vapor barrier covering the ground and coming up the perimeter walls, block off the vents and throw a dehumidifier under there and call it an encapsulated crawl space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we got another question. This one's from Corey Peters. Weigh and pray or charging jacket when you're doing a replacement in low ambient conditions?
We don't have low ambient conditions down here.
Well, we would generally weigh it in and then try to come back. You know, most of our clients and customers are part of our maintenance plan anyways, right? And so and you'll generally be close enough, right? I mean, like, unless we did have troubles back in the day with some micro channel condensers that were like, if you're 6 ounces overcharged, you're going out on high head pressure and stuff. So, but for the most part, you're going to be close enough to just weighing it in and then come back and check on it.
I miss those days, the micro channel where it's like you have low subcooling, then you give it just a little squirt, and then it's like meh, meh, meh.
It's amazing. Like it amazed me just how many that, like, I think what we were doing wrong was it was, below 60 or something outside, and we were overcharging them then, and then like we got caught with our pants down one summer. It turned hot real quick, and it's just like all of a sudden we get a bunch of call backs, and it'd be minuscule amounts. Like I said, 4 or 6 ounces would make the difference. But
yeah, I just overcharged a Bosch, so walk of shame right there. All right, next question. Do you guys feel like sticking with one brand helps with getting new people trained, faster, more efficient installs?
I think so. Consistency. You learn one piece of equipment and roll with it. You're not having to learn the language of each different manufacturer. And
we do sell different brands, and there's we're typically just 2 brands, but if some application calls for something, we're going to put it in. I mean, we can read. All you got to do is read the manual, right? Like, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
the cool thing is, though, like, each manufacturer, they have their little quirks, and you start noticing things. I mean, I've been doing Amana, so like we haven't had it cross, knock on wood, for a few years, but I remember doing York and doing train. They would each have their own like issues, and you would run up, and like the first time you see it, you might spend 2 hours trying to figure out what the heck is going on. But the next time you're there, like boom, 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 you know exactly what you're running into just because it's familiar, right?
Yeah. You also get like we did York for a while too, and their wiring is a lot different than like everyone else's in the industry, right? And so it's yeah, those challenges as well, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends on how a lot of it depends on how big your company is, right? I mean, if all of us are probably there for most of the installs, or a lot of them. I don't know. Michael, he's probably sitting back at the office just.
No, I mean, you still want to, you generally want to have a main brand, right? But don't let it restrict you from making a choice if something else is better for a project, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, getting a little short on questions. I'll just ask my own because I've got quite a few. Just thinking about just installs in general. Kind of back to the organizational side of it. Yeah, Adam, what's your experience been on some of these bigger projects? I know that you've gone pretty deep on some people's houses.
So I just have like tons of lists, and that was hard for me in the past because like you guys know the yellow notepads, like that you just, I would have like 5 of those, and I would grab the one I thought I need, but I grabbed like a different one, and it's like, oh man, but I have since then started using a Remarkable tablet, which is all digital, and you could have like a bazillion notes, and you could organize everything in files. So that helped out a lot. Just for the fact that like on the bigger jobs, a lot of times you might leave and not come back for 3 weeks, and you forget kind of where you left off. You know what I mean? So okay, I need to make this list, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a running list on my phone, like so each job or notes in general will write my notes app, and then you can like Adam said, the end of each day or whatever, if I need something, I'm putting it in my notes throughout the day and end up with this list. And, after I pick it up or whatever, I can delete those items and start a new one each day kind of deal.
Well, it's helpful too, like when you go through and you might have multiple lists if it's a digital thing, right? Because like maybe you need to know you did the rough ductwork, and then it's going to be a while till you come back. Well, you make your register and return grill list, right?
Yeah.
And that will stay there, and it's not like, because I've had it in the past before I started doing digital. It's like, what did I do with this list? Now I got to go back to this house and measure everything again because I have no clue. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Let's see. Go-to bending tool.
Fillmore.
Fillmore.
I think I have the CPS one. I like it because it's color coded.
So I guess we're talking refrigeration bending tool. In my mind, I'm thinking folding sheet metal.
Oh yeah, sheet metal.
But yeah, I use the Hillmore. I am interested in the Navac battery powered one.
They're so damn expensive though.
Yeah, I like tools, so that part.
I do too, but I don't like spending $1,000 on a damn bender that I can.
Yeah.
A couple of clicks with your hand and it's done.
My wrists aren't as good as they once were, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes those clicks are like on my knee or whatever, just wrenching on it.
Well, we've gotten kind of lucky too with it because, like, if you guys remember back in the day, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, copper was a lot thicker. Mm-hmm. And, like, to bend 7/8 copper, it was a chore. Like, now it's not nearly as bad as it used to be.
You got to anneal it, preheat it before you bend it.
while running nitrogen through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it under 800 degrees, right? Sure.
Do you guys ever have a problem with swedging? A lot of my, like, if I'm swedging 7/8 or 3/8 copper, I get a lot of cracks. You guys have any?
Just be careful with it. As I'm swedging, I'll rotate a couple of times. You know what I mean? Don't swedge it all in one location. Swedge it a little bit, release it, turn it 15 degrees, swedge it, release it, turn it 15, 20 degrees, swedge it.
You also want to make sure you're deburring everything. A lot of times, if you don't ream the end, it can do that as well before. But like I said earlier, I just press everything, so that's problem solved.
I've never really liked, I've used it a bazillion times, the 3/8 swedger, the tubing expander or whatnot. I use the Hillmore, but like if you look at the hub, it's so small. You know what I mean? So sometimes if you're in like a weird position and you're trying to connect it and you have to braze, it's like barely holding on. But like, I don't know if you guys have played. I really am not a big fan of the spin swedging tools, but the 3/8 one, it's like a really nice deep socket. It's like 3 times as deep as the tubing expander, which is kind of cool.
What do y'all feel about that spin swedge? Not swedge, the flaring tool.
Like on the end of a drill?
I don't trust the flare. I use the swedging ones, but I never trusted the flaring ones generally. Like, and I've been old school. Like, I've had my flaring and swedging kit for ever since I've been in the trade, right? And so, like, I have always done a good job and used that one, and it has deep swedges, unlike whatever Adam was talking about. So I was always used to that before, but then when the spin ones came out, I would use those to swedge it. But I do think that they left the copper sort of thinner than if I were using my swedging block and flare block.
You still use a flare block? Like you're using the old school block where you're like with the wing nuts?
Yeah.
Really? You're freaking gangster, dude.
I mean, not now. I press everything, but like that's what I have that from when I got in the trade. That's what it's always worked.
Yeah.
Well, with the mini split stuff, you can't press it. You got to flare it.
No, you get flare adapters. You get a little adapter, and then you.
And it comes with a flare on it. You twist that on, and then you press the other side.
Yep.
Dang, that is gangster.
I use that. I have that Navac. I bought for the longest time. I was looking. Everyone online had it. And I'm like, I want to get one. I do kind of a lot of mini splits. That Navac power flaring tool, and I was hemming and hawing for so long, waiting, and finally I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy it. I bought it, and like 3 weeks later, a new version came out, and it's like 100 times better than the other one.
Love when it happens.
Serves you right.
Yeah.
Probably never did another mini split either, right?
Yeah, it's been sitting there.
You're like, man, I've been doing so many of these. Okay, here's a question. Micah Martinez wants to know, what's the normal time frame for an apprentice or a young tech to do an install with one helper?
20 years, 25 years. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for 24 years now, and I haven't had an apprentice that I can leave on a job or a technician. I've hired a few technicians. The longest a technician lasted with me was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know if I just had bad luck with hiring people, but
yeah, I mean, maybe you're the problem. You're the kind
I probably am.
Maybe you're hard to work with. Huh?
I have to say that I definitely have been the problem in the past, for sure.
Yeah.
Like with working with, and it's different. You know what I mean? Like now my job is to teach people, and I enjoy it, and I have a great time, and I have a positive attitude. But it's like a little bit of a different sense of responsibility that you have. Like when you're trying to teach somebody something in the field, you have an apprentice, right? you're paying money out of your pocket to train this guy, and then they're not listening to you, or they fail or whatever else, then it's really frustrating because it's like, it's costing me money and you're ignoring what I'm telling you. And it's just like, you build this animosity, or at least I did in the past. But like, now that some people are paying, they're not paying me, but paying the company to train. It's like, if you don't want to take what I'm showing you, no skin off my back, it's not going to make me lose any money. So
it's frustrating when I can teach a technician or apprentice how to cut a 2x4 with a square with your eyes closed, basically. Teach them and teach them and teach them. The minute I turn my back, they're struggling to cut a damn board and it's crooked. I want to punch them in the throat.
This to the question though, really, like, everyone's different, so there's not like a cookie cutter answer here. In general though, like for me, it's gonna at least be a couple years, and it sort of just depends on the person. But like Adam said, it can be difficult as an owner or whatever, but you have to sort of come to grips with trying to have processes in place and do the same thing every time, and then be okay with making mistakes. Just be prepared to handle them, right? And so it can be easy to get upset at the apprentice that's doing it on their own for the first time. But what really matters is, like, that's going to happen inevitably. So you have to be prepared to do the right thing and then learn from it. That's how we all got better. I mean, I've screwed up so much stuff in my life.
Yeah.
And you never, as a company and as a company owner, you're like, I was always stuck in the same spot, right? But if I would have just if you let people do what they do and you let somebody fail and learn, that's when your life starts becoming easier. And right.
Well, yeah, then that's when they grow as a tech and a person as well, right? If you're, it's the hard thing to do. Like, and I have the problem where if I'm on the job, I'm going to jump in and do things that I probably shouldn't. Right.
Yeah. Get the hell out of my way. Let me do it, because it's getting 150 degrees and we got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just like, oh, let me put that duct on for you.
One thing, and I feel like this goes with anybody, any man, I have a tendency to point out all the bad all the time.
Yeah.
And it has a tendency to bring people down. Try to find something good. Even if they're doing everything bad, find something good to point out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I just hired my first apprentice, and I just told him, I mean, he doesn't know how to use a drill. He has no experience. So it's like, I can't, I have to set my expectations appropriately based on who you're dealing with. So I just told him, I just want you to, show up and try. If it's bad, of course it's going to be bad. You've never done it before. But just just don't be on your phone. Just don't be sitting there on your phone, while we're at work. Like, just try to help, try your best while we're there. I have low expectations, but I think because I was pretty bad when I started, so I mean, I didn't know how to use a drill either. So
right. You got to start somewhere. One thing that I learned from, I'm not military, but the Marines have a saying: move and work with a sense of urgency. So I don't like people just kind of meandering around, shuffling their feet. Like, move like you have a purpose. You know what I mean? That drives me crazy. Another thing is working with people, find their strong suit. If they're not mechanical, get rid of them or find something else for them to do. Because you have to be a mechanical person to do this kind of work.
I always thought that, but recently, well, not recently, it was probably a year or so ago. I was talking to one of Brian's head honchos at Kalos, and I was kind of asking him, you have so many employees and you're so successful. How do you find them? And how do you know they're the right person. And he basically said they hire strictly on personality, and that's how they hire. And then they gauge how quickly and where they're going to put the person by basically during the interview process, they give them a drill or they give them a nut driver and they say, take apart this condenser. And they just sit back and watch. And they can kind of gauge like what are they mechanically inclined or not, you know? And then it's like, well, some people will never make it past being a maintenance tech, and that could be drive, that could be whatever. And then, you know, but I think if you encourage somebody, like anyone is capable of learning. It's just like how the styles in which you learn, I guess, you know, I don't know. But Brian did it. How many employees does he have? You know,
like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with just hire based on attitude. And if they're a good fit, everything else can be learned, in my opinion. So really it's all about, are they a good fit with your team kind of thing?
Yeah. Got a question here just about vacuum process.
Oh yeah.
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 I always pull Schrader's unless it's the core max fittings, and then I use a core depressor.
Do you pull both Schraders or just one?
Yeah, I pull all of them. All
2 of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes 3.
Yeah, whatever.
There's a lot of good information out there now. There's some spectacular tools. When I see people pulling a vacuum through a gauge set, I feel like it's inexcusable at this point.
Well, I know the people that do pull through a manifold and they are actually still, you know, they have a micron gauge. If you're doing that on a daily basis and you're watching how long it takes to pull the vacuum with your manifold, and then you try it with like 3/4 inch hoses, you're like, oh, I'm done with this. This is the dumbest thing ever. And then you start thinking, I was thinking to myself, like, why did these manufacturers even make 4-port hoses or manifolds? Like, what, you know?
Because people buy them, I guess. I don't know.
It's a gateway drug.
It is.
You know? Yeah, actually.
Well, wasn't it like actually for recovery or something like that, and people just started using it for pulling a vacuum?
I mean, they all show on the packaging, it's a black hose and it says vacuum hose or vacuum rated hose.
Yeah, it's got a built-in.
Yeah, but I don't think that's where they originated from, right? Like the 4-port in general, right?
Yeah.
It turned into that, but I feel like originally it
started
was
just for
recovery.
Yeah, I just pull one Schrader. I just pull the low side.
I prefer to be able to isolate my micron gauge. It means you don't have to clean them as often, generally, and so that's why I always use. If I'm using 2 hoses, I use 3 core depressors. If I'm just using 1 hose, then I use 2.
What micron gauge are you rocking?
I use the BlueVac Pro, I believe. We also have several of the minis, I believe is what they're called. They're micro, BlueVac micros.
Nice.
I always used the BlueVac, and then when I sold my AC company, all of my really good tools went with it. So I just have a little Yellow Jacket micron gauge. I feel like it works. It works well. Serves its purpose.
Yeah. What do you guys do for like commissioning on the back end of an install? Do you guys try to split that out from the actual install work itself? You know, like setting. Let's say you're doing an AC install. Are you setting gas pressure and doing a combustion analysis in the middle of the summer?
I have a huge issue with combustion analysis, and I get called down on it all the time. But to me, if it was so important, why would the manufacturer not require it in an instruction manual? So I just set gas pressure to the manual and walk.
You
I mean,
clock the
you do
gas meter?
Say that again?
You clock the gas meter?
Never did. Ever.
It's in every install manual.
Yeah, I don't follow all the rules.
just the ones you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll generally like that goes back to just like the charging when it's too cold question for me. I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
be generally close enough. We do combustion testing and everything, but if it's like we're really busy and all that stuff, I mean, we'll do it later. But I mean, we do all the setup and airflows and all of that stuff is part of our commissioning process. We don't have somebody like my whole goal would be to do that after the fact with a dedicated person that just does commissioning. Just because I feel a lot of times things are hard when you're in the retrofit department and you're like doing all you can to get everything done. It's easy to skip steps at the end of the day, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, you're ready to
Yeah.
get the hell out of there. You just get it up
Yeah.
and running and roll.
Yeah, I like the idea of coming back later. I mean, for myself, it's helpful to just get it up and running and then come back and do some of those fine-tuned details, even if it's a week later, just because I'm so tired of being there. And I don't want to go through something that's really meticulous, whether it be, air balancing or anything like that. So I like kind of splitting it out, getting some distance. It's also kind of nice because then the homeowners lived in it for a while. If they're like, what are we, this room's a little cold or whatever, then you can go and adjust stuff. So, I really like kind of splitting that out.
Do y'all test and balance on every system?
No, just if somebody, I'll put dampers on it, so if somebody has a complaint or something, then I can adjust.
Yeah, I mean, typically that's what we'll do. We just set airflow, set the dampers to our experience, our best judgment.
Yeah.
Let it roll, and then if the customer calls and says, "Hey, this room's getting too cold," go close the damper off a little bit. But we're not going around flow hood and test and balance on every system.
Yeah. Adam, did you have a comment there? Commissioning.
I do like going back. I feel like it's much more, at the end of the day, 4 or 5 o'clock, depending on how long the install is. Like, even if you have the best intentions, you start letting things slide. You know what I mean? You're like, I want to go home. I was supposed to be there an hour ago. My kid has a freaking baseball game. Something's going on. You're like, I just got to go, So you end up rushing, even if you don't want to. So if you go back another day, I feel like it's super relaxed. You can take your time. And it's just like
We also sort of try to take our time on the install anyways, where, maybe we have the return just pulling out of the basement the first day. And then your second day is sort of an easier day of just doing a few things and the commissioning kind of thing. So, like, other companies would probably do the jobs we do in 2 days in 1 day, right? And they'd be struggling with the just wanting to get out of there and all that stuff. But
we have companies around us, and I hate to admit it, we were one of them that would do 2 change outs a day. And I mean, we would just slam, bam, thank you, ma'am, swap them out, box swappers.
Yeah, we did all that stuff too. I mean, like, and used to brag about it and everything, right? But
super boastful and proud of it.
Yeah,
and
even in recent years, I've done 2 ACs in a day out of necessity of just, it's 1,000,000 degrees outside, everybody's stuff's broke, and you're killing yourself to try to take care of everybody, right? But
Yeah.
it's not what I want to do for sure.
I've gotten
Yeah.
to the point to where if I can't do it my way, I'm not doing the job. I'll turn it down. I'm not going to rush a job anymore. I take my time, do everything properly to the best of my ability. I can sleep good at night knowing that I provided a good product to my client and I'm not causing more problems than what I'm solving.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just comes down to the person, in terms of how you want to run your company. And there's just a lot of trade-offs to all different models. I know for myself, it's just, if I work that much, then other things, have to take a back seat. So it's just kind of a balancing act, figuring out what it is, how much time you want to spend on a job. So, all right, well, I think that pretty much does it for this evening. Any final words of wisdom for our installer friends out there this summer?
Hydrate.
Hydrate or dihydrate.
Hydrate, attention to detail, care about what you're doing, use wisdom, use common sense. Try to do a great job that you're going to feel good about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to do jobs with the mentality like if somebody follows up behind me, I want them to look at my work and be blown away.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen your stuff on Facebook. I'm blown away.
Well, I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah.
Michael, any closing thoughts?
I mean, I'd agree. Just take your time and enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Try to see. I know the summer can be a challenge because you're always busy and everything like that, and so. But hopefully, you enjoy what you're doing and try to do the best. And like AJ said, just be proud of what you're doing. And then everything else sort of falls into place. I feel like if you have that mentality and are striving to do that. So
Yeah, one thing that I'll throw in there too, leave the job site cleaner than when you showed up. That's one thing I can't stand, people leaving garbage in my attics.
Don't
Who
leave
the
the
hell
old
are
air
you?
handler in the back of the
I'm
attic.
not your mom to come clean up after you. Don't leave trash in my client's house.
Yeah. That's a good practical tip right there. Bring some trash bags. All right, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next time.